this lecture series, we have 5 lectures. And today's lecture is the second one. And again, the topic of the 5 lectures is Shinran's view of the 2 types of bodhicitta, starting point. The subtitle is the larger sutra as the basis of his teaching. As I said in the first class, bodhicitta means the aspiration for becoming a Buddha. So bodhicitta is the starting point in our study of Buddhism. This starting point in Buddhism, according to Shinran, starting point in Buddhism is the most important issue. And usually we think that we have one type of bodhicitta or starting point in our study of Buddhism. But Shinran Shonin talks about the 2 types of bodhicitta, 2 types of starting point. And he talks about self-power bodhicitta, and other power bodhicitta. And when he says having the right start or having the right motivation in our study of Buddhism is so crucial. He says if we have a wrong starting point, all the following things, such as practice and attainment, are all in vain. No matter how many practices we may take up, how long, how many years we may spend in performing those practices, Shinran says all those things are in vain. And he also said if we have the right starting point or right motivation at the outset of our study of Buddhism, all the following things, such as practice and attainment, are right. And Shinran Shonin emphasized this expression: if the cause is impure, the fruit is impure. If the cause is pure, then fruit is pure. So many Shin teachers say that Shinran's Jodo Shinshu is a teaching about the cause, starting point. Shinran considers having the right starting point is everything. If you have right starting point, you don't have to worry about practice, or you don't have to worry about attainment. But if you start with the wrong starting point, practices and attainment are the important issues you have to worry about. So there's a tremendous difference between these 2 types of Buddhism and third type of Buddhism. This is Shinran called this true Buddhism. He calls these first 2 types of Buddhism provisional Buddhism. In the first class, I talked about the 3-stage transition. This schema shows us the 3 stages Shinran went through as a Buddhist. By examining Shinran, the spiritual growth through these 3 stages, I explained his view of the 2 types of the bodhicitta. And Shinran Shonin talks about the 3 stages by using the 3 vows, 19th, 20th, and 18th vow. Shinran uses these 3 vows to talk about the 3 stages he experienced in his life as a Buddhist. And Shinran Shonin went to Mount Pa to study and practice Buddhism when he was 9 years old. So he awakened his bodhicitta. Okay, this is the initial motivation. He wanted to attain enlightenment. Okay? So say, we awaken the aspiration for attaining Buddhahood or enlightenment, or generally we want to seek our individual happiness, and we decide to study Buddhism. So all of us has already awakened our initial motivation, or kind of bodhicitta. But in this whole teaching, Shinran is challenging us. We think we have awakened the right starting point, awakened the right motivation. We don't doubt it. I awakened my desire and this initial aspiration, and it's a good one, it's the right one. But Shinran tells us that we have to examine the validity of the first aspiration we awaken. And he tells us that we must recognize the mistake we are making in our initial aspiration. It's very difficult to recognize a mistake, but Shinran is challenging us to recognize the first aspiration, the bodhicitta we awaken, is not the authentic one. And he further challenges further that we must awaken the second type of bodhicitta, or the second type of aspiration. And this is Shinran calls this the Shinjin, or he called the other power bodhicitta. Unless second bodhicitta is awakened, Shinran tells us that authentic Buddhism doesn't begin. So in that sense, Shinran's teaching is a tremendous challenge to our kind of regular way of thinking. Okay? And he challenges us because we are initially living in this cocoon, the world of dualistic thinking. So dualistic thinking is the only wisdom we have. Okay? And we think about Buddhism, we study Buddhism on the basis of the dualistic thinking. Okay? But anyway, Shinran went to Mount Hiei and he performed all kinds of practices, okay, called sundry practices. And these practices include keeping precepts, meditation, visualization, or walking meditation, or even this includes the chant mandavatis, the Nembutsu practice too. He performed all kinds of practice on Mount Hiei. So he wanted to eliminate his blind passions and defilements, but he came to the conclusion that he couldn't eliminate the passions, and he realized that he couldn't attain the Buddhahood he wanted to attain. So he was unable to become a Buddha through those practices, and he was feeling more and more frustrated and depressed as he intensified his practices. And having spent 20 years in this stage, Shinran hit a dead end in his practices. And so he became a failure. So the first stage was a period in which Shinran performed all kinds of practices to eliminate blind passions and failed in that attempt. This was a period in which he eventually became a failure in all traditional practices. And I talked about this basis of this orientation. I said this, the dualistic thinking. If you trust this dualistic thinking, you think about the minus and plus. Okay? And the dualistic thinking always make us favor pluses, love pluses, hate minuses. And so we want to realize plus values by eliminating minus values, like passions, okay? So that's the whole purpose of practices. He engaged in all kinds of practices. So if you use dualistic thinking in your study of Buddhism or whatever, you must have practice of self-betterment or you must make progress. See? Improvement, progress must be there. See? Dualistic always. Okay? But if you just favor plus values and don't see any meaning in minus values, then you can appreciate only half of your life. See? Life is a mixture of pluses and minuses. If you are just plus values, you cannot fulfill your life. That's the problem. Okay, but eventually this shinjin, other powers, bodhicitta, is based on non-dualistic wisdom of oneness. This is a wisdom that can appreciate both plus values and minus values. Okay? So what kind of starting point you have is so crucial. Okay, then after he became a failure in the first stage, he met Honen Shonin when he was 29. Actually, Honen Shonin had the same experience when he was young. So Honen Shonin could understand how Shinran was feeling as a feeling, so as a failure from the traditional Buddhism. So in a sense, Honen told Shinran, don't be disappointed. There's Amida Buddha, compassionate one. And Amida Buddha offered a practice of Nembutsu. You don't have to engage in sundry practices. These practices designed for the superior practitioners, but the inferior practitioners like us, we cannot perform all these sundry practices. So Amida has a compassion for people like us, and Amida Buddha has one practice of Nembutsu that is specifically designed for people like us. So Shinran, don't worry. Okay? So trust Amida Buddha and chant the name of Amida Buddha. He's saying Namman Dalutsu many times. Then you could attain birth in the Pure Land after death. You cannot become Buddha in this life, like the people here on Mount Tie. But your birth in the Pure Land is assured if you trust Amida Buddha and chant Namman Dalutsu. So the way people saw themselves are different. Okay? These people have potential to become Buddha, but these people identify themselves as a failure. So long as I'm alive, I cannot eliminate even one of these blind passions. It is only after death that I could become, Buddha, not in this life. I cannot eliminate. So chanting Namman Dalutsu is a kind of preparation for the birth in the Pure Land. The real Buddhist practice begins after we die. This is the Jodoshu teaching. Okay? And he spent a couple of years in this, but he started to doubt this approach. Shinran's question, is this the true teaching of Honen Shonin? Maybe this is not the true teaching of Honen Shonin. And Shinran Shonin had doubt about this teaching. And Shinran Shonin initially thought this Honen Shonin taught, the Honen Shonin he taught this the practice of chanting Namman Dalutsu. But Shinran couldn't understand how come chanting Namman Dalutsu, why can it save me? It doesn't make sense, And Amida Buddha is like savior here, see, personal savior. Buddhism doesn't talk about the personal savior, but Amida Buddha is like a savior. And why does it have to be Namman Dalutsu? And if sound has some magical power, it doesn't have to be Namo Amida Butsu. Other mantras should be okay. Why does it have to be Namman Dalutsu? So anyway, Shinran has many doubts about this, the teachings of Honen Shonin. So Shinran was one of the closest disciples of Honen Shonin. So he could ask many questions to him. So Shinran could receive many answers other disciples of Honen could not receive. So by talking, with Honen Shonin, asking many questions, receiving answers other people couldn't receive, Shinran came to the conclusion. This teaching actually based upon Contemplation Sutra. Jodoshu teaching is based upon Contemplation Sutra. Shinran thought the true teaching should be based upon the larger sutra. And so Shinran Shonin thought that this is not the true teaching of Honen Shonin. This is like a Honen Shonin. I met here is not the true Honen Shonin. This is kind of Honen Shonin who is talking about this Jodoshu teaching on the basis of contemplation. And by reading this sutra, larger sutra carefully, Shinda realized the larger sutra is the true and real sutra teaching, and Honen Shonin's teaching is actually based upon this. So Shinda started to view Honen Shonin from a different perspective from other disciples of Buddha. So that's why Shinda Shonin started talking about third stage. And he called this second stage the 20th vow stage. And he called, this is the true Honen Shonin's teaching. This is the teaching based upon larger sutra. So anyway, he moved to the third stage. So Shinda talks about here, third stage. Third stage is a stage that is based on larger sutra. And the larger sutra talks about three important vows. That is the 17th vow, 18th vow, and 11th vow. And then what is 17th vow? Shinda says 17th vow is a vow of Nembutsu. Nembutsu. And that means, Nembutsu means Namu Amidabutsu. Namu means come, imperative sentence, come. Amidabutsu means Amida Buddha is not the personal savior here. This is the personal savior here, like Christian God. Shinda couldn't believe in that kind of Buddha. So Shinda clearly understood the meaning of Amida Buddha is a symbol. Amida is a symbol of Buddha's non-dualistic wisdom. Buddha's non-dualistic wisdom. So the Namu Amidabutsu means the voice challenging us. Imperative sentence challenging us. Come to the Buddha's wisdom. It's an imperative sentence that is coming from our teachers. Honen, Shakyamuni Buddha, our personal teachers, their words are Namamidabutsu. So the Namamidabutsu is nothing we have to chant. It is something we have to hear. The only thing necessary for us here is that listening to our teacher's voice, Namu Amidabutsu. Our teachers are saying Namu Amidabutsu. It's not that we practice chanting Namu Amidabutsu. That's the practice of chanting here. But we have to chant, say Namu Amidabutsu. But here, only the Buddhas are saying it. Our teachers are challenging us, saying Namu Amidabutsu. You're stupid in being attached in this world of human wisdom. You are living in a cocoon and you're not aware of it. Why don't you come out of it? Come out. Why don't you take refuge in Buddha's? No, Amida Buddha symbolizes wisdom. Take refuge in Buddha's wisdom. It is the wisdom, this Buddha's wisdom that liberates you. See, now Shinda understood. Now I understood why Nembutsu is important, because see, these are the challenging words from our teachers, telling us I should take refuge in Buddha's wisdom. I should see the limitation and futility of my attachment to dualistic thinking. So Shinda says this, the only thing necessary for us is hearing. No practice of chanting is necessary. No practice of meditation is necessary. Just hearing. And understand the meaning of the Buddha's non-dualistic wisdom. Non-dualistic wisdom, the wisdom of oneness. This is a wisdom that can appreciate not only minus values, but plus values. If you receive this wisdom, you can live such a meaningful life. And of course, you have to receive it from your teachers, from the Buddhas. You cannot create it. So the Shinda says, Shinjin, it is only hearing. Only hearing is important. Hearing Namandava. And hearing becomes Shinjin. This Shinjin awakens. You cannot awaken Shinjin by yourself. This Shinjin you can awaken. Power, you can awaken this by yourself. But this Shinjin, you have to listen to the words. Our teacher's words alone can awaken this Shinjin. Other power, bodhicitta. Other power means the power of teachers. then this hearing and shinjin are the same thing. And once Shinra says, Nembutsu is non-dualistic wisdom, and shinjin is non-dualistic wisdom. Both are Buddha's mind. This is the human mind. This is Buddha's mind. Only the Buddha's mind can liberate you. Then you start out such a dynamic life. This is the life he talks about. 11th vow talks about true beginning and true ending. The shinjin is a true beginning. This is the true beginning. Okay? Unless you have this true beginning, you cannot have this true fulfillment of human life. Okay? But anyway, you understand these three vows are the most important. And then the last part of the material of the lecture 1, I listed this the Shinran, the largest sutra passage talking about fulfillment of three vows. Okay? And I didn't have time to talk about it the last time, but in the 4th and 5th classes, I will explain it. Okay? Because this is the most important passage. See, the passage talking about this. Shinran says, 17th vow is fulfilled. All my teachers, like Honen, Seven Patriarchs, Shakyamuni, historical teachers, all people are challenging me by saying, take refuge in Amitabha's wisdom, Buddha's wisdom. That's Nama Amitabha's. And the only thing necessary for us is to listen to their words and having our shinjin awaken. That's all you need, okay? Nembutsu and shinjin. Then, see, is it like medicine, taking medicine, okay? Calling voice, hearing? That solves everything. And shinjin is awakened. Shinjin, as I told you, true, Shinran says, if you have true beginning, you don't have to worry about practice. You don't have to worry about attainment. This shinjin itself has tremendous aspiration, dynamic aspiration. Shinjin itself is dynamic aspiration that is awakened within, leads you in this process. It's not your efforts that perfect your Buddha. Said shinjin itself, actually Shinran said, this shinjin is bodhisattva dharmakara's mind. If it's awakened, the bodhisattva dharmakara's mind has an element of necessity. See? So you don't have to worry about it. You become Buddha naturally. See? And Shinran himself lived such a powerful life. See? So this is the medicine, taking medicine, is a process of complete recovery of health. So Shinran had not only the personal reasons for discussing two types of bodhicitta, he also had a historical reason. He had to talk about the two types of bodhicitta. Okay. Actually, Honen's Sangha was persecuted during Shinran's time. There was a severe governmental persecution of the Honen Sangha, and Honen's Sangha was totally destroyed. Okay, during Shinran's lifetime. There are many reasons for the persecution of Honen Sangha. There was one important doctrinal controversy. This doctrinal controversy contributed to the persecution of Honen Sangha too. So I talk about this historical incident that contributed to the persecution and doctrinal controversy that contributed to the persecution of Honen Sangha. The doctrinal contribution concerns Honen's view of bodhicitta. Actually, in his main writing, Honen said bodhicitta is not necessary for birth in the Pure Land. Honen said that, okay, in the book. That astounded everybody except the followers of Honen Shonin. It is unheard of. Bodhicitta is the basis of Buddhism. And Honen, in his main work, said bodhicitta is not necessary for birth in the pure. So that created commotion. Okay? And all the scholars of traditional Buddhism started to attack Honen. And they called Honen non-Buddhist. Honen cannot be considered Buddhist because he negates bodhicitta. But anyway, that was this controversy. Okay, this is such an important thing. So in the first issue, I discussed is this historical background. Shinran defended Honen from the attacks by the traditional Buddhists. And it is in this context that Shinran talks about two types of bodhicitta. So in our study of Shinran's view of two types of bodhicitta, understanding the historical background is so important. Okay. Honen had a 7-article pledge drawn up to answer criticism concerning the behavior of his followers, and 190 disciples, including Shinran, signed it. So around this year, 1204, okay, traditional Buddhists are harshly criticizing the behaviors of the Honen's disciples. Honen disciples, said our tradition, actually, our tradition is much superior to this. So they criticized the followers of the traditional Buddhism. And Honen taught that, precepts are not important. Moral qualities, intellectual qualities are not important, none of the concern for the Amida's salvation. So whether you're evil or good doesn't matter. Even the evil person can be born in the Pure Land. So some of the followers of Honen intentionally committed evil actions. Okay? So they naturally, traditional Buddhists harshly criticized, asked the government to caution Honen. So the Honen asked his disciples to sign his 7-article pledge, and Honen disciples, many, 190 disciples. Honen had many disciples. And these are all monks, 190. Shinran is one of them. He had tens of thousands of followers flocking around him. So of course, there are lots of jealousy on the part of traditional Buddhists. Okay? Honen cautioned people don't criticize the traditional Buddhists, don't intentionally commit evil action, something like that. But one of Honen's disciples was a chancellor or prime minister. Okay, so prime minister was Honen's disciple. So naturally, government initially protected Honen. Okay, but this patron of Honen passed away. Then things got worse for the Honen Sangha because no governmental support are there. So suddenly, okay, and actually one incident took place. Okay, that is a 1206. Okay, 1206. A couple of disciples Honen held a Nembutsu gathering where a couple of court ladies attended, and they stayed overnight at the gathering. Well, the emperor was away at that time. And there was a rumor that there was sexual relationship between the two monks of Honen's disciple and court ladies. This rumor reached the ears of the emperor, and he got so infuriated. So the next year, okay, in 1207, Shinran was 35. Honen was 75. The government persecuted Honen Sangha. 2 disciples of Honen were executed. These are two monks who held that Nembutsu gathering. And 6 monks, including Honen and Shinran, were defrocked and exiled. If you have the text of Kyogyo Shinshu, I recommend you to read the postscript, because Shinran has something important to say there. Okay? He talks about the reason why he wrote Kyogyo Shinshu. Shinran couldn't express his kind of anger in describing this persecution. Okay? These are Shinran's words. Okay? The emperor and his ministers are acting against the Dharma and violating human rectitude became enraged and embittered. As a result, Master Genku Honen, the eminent founder who had enabled the Shinshu to spread vigorously in Japan, and the number of his followers, without receiving any deliberation of their alleged crimes, were summarily sentenced to death or were dispossessed of their monkhood, given secular names, and consigned to distant banishment. I was among the latter. So anyway, you can see, and so Shinran talks about this persecution in the postscript, and in the postscript, after describing the persecution of the Nembutsu by the government, Shinran talks about his relationship with Honen Shonin. He tells us Shinran was very close to Honen, and Honen permitted Shinran to copy Honen's main work. It was a privilege given to only 5 or 6 disciples of Honen. Okay? Shinran was one of the 5 or 6 closest disciples of Honen. Okay? That's Shinran talks about it. He talks about his close relationship with Honen. And this statement in the postscript implies that Shinran had kind of confidence that he was close to Honen and he understood what Honen really wanted to teach. So he talks about his kind of responsibility to defend Honen Shonin from the attacks from the traditional Buddhism. Shinran knows that Honen's view of bodhicitta, one of the causes for the persecution. So he clearly states he wrote Kyogyo Shinsho to show the greatness of Honen's teaching. Shinran says Honen's teaching is the teaching of true Buddhism. Okay? So the only reason he's writing Kyogyo Shinsho is to show the correct teaching of Honen Shonin. Okay? Because there are many misunderstandings of Honen. Okay? And Shinran believed many traditional Buddhists or scholars were misinterpreting Honen and criticizing Honen. So Shinran's desire was he wanted to correct those mistakes. Okay. Honen founded the Jodoshu by writing his main work, the Senjaku Hongan Nembutsu, in 1198. Actually, Prime Minister, I mentioned, asked Honen to present his main work and asked for the permission to found a new Buddhist sect. So following the Prime Minister's suggestion, Honen wrote this work, and government recognized the founding of the Jodoshu, so officially recognized. Okay. In this work, Honen talked about the following 2 gates. Okay. The gate of the path of sages. So in Honen's time, only there are two gates. Okay. The gate of the path of sages. Practitioner attain Buddhahood by performing sundry practices. Okay. Here, the bodhicitta and the sundry practices. So awakening the bodhicitta is necessary in this Buddhism. Okay, and Honen said that this gate is no longer valid because spiritual qualities of the people of his time have deteriorated. Okay. So anyway, this tradition talks about this type of Buddhism talks about Sarva bodhicitta and sundry practice based upon it. Okay, then this is the Honen's tradition. Okay, Pure Land Gate. Okay. I emphasize, okay, at the time of Honen, there are two when Shinran joined the Honen, there are two gates, 2 types of Buddhism. But Shinran later started this, okay? And Shinran said, true Honen is not here, but this is true Honen. Okay? So in Shinran's mind, the first Honen was a provisional Honen, and this was a true Honen. Okay? So this is Shinran's 3-gate schema. Okay, now, the Pure Land Gate, the people attain birth in the Pure Land after death by performing, here I mentioned this one practice, saying the name. Okay, Honen does not emphasize, this Honen does not emphasize the importance of hearing. Nembutsu is something you yourself chant. Okay? And Honen says that the bodhicitta, which he identifies as one of the sundry practice of the gate, is not necessary for people. Okay? Honen believes that Amida does not require the people are inferior. Shinran, Honen thought that he was a failure in traditional Buddhism, totally unsavable from the traditional Buddhist viewpoint. But Honen believed Amida Buddha has a means to liberate all human beings equally, and he thought it was a Nembutsu practice. And so basically Honen thought that there are two textual bases for that. Even the worst type of human beings, most wicked, can be saved only by saying the name. First one is the 18th vow. 18th vow of the Larger Sutta says the most wicked can be born in the Pure Land by saying the name at least 10 times. And the Contemplation Sutta says that the most wicked are born in the Pure Land by saying the name 10 times without awakening bodhicitta. So particularly this section in the contemplation, talking about the worst type of human being. These people have not created any good in their life, only evil actions. But even these people, at the moment of death, physical death, they encounter teacher, and teacher tell them, just say Namandavam, say it. And the wicked say Namandavam 10 times, and he is born in the pure. So this is a very important textual basis from which Honen claims the worst type of people like us can be born in Pure Land without even awakening bodhicitta. See? So that's what Honen said. So naturally, traditional Buddhists are so upset. Myoe, by the way, if you are interested in Myoe, he's a very famous Kegon scholar, and Dr. Mark Unno, son of Dr. Daitetsu Unno. I think his thesis was on Myoe. So there's a book, I forgot the title of the book, but Dr. Mark Unno has a book on Myoe. So you can read about him in English. Okay, so the Myoe in his youth, he deeply respected Honen. Okay, Honen was a very famous scholar. His nickname was Honen, the wise man. Like Honen of wisdom. Very famous scholar. So Myoe, as a young man, deeply respected Honen. But after the death of Honen in 1212, Honen's main writing was published. Okay, before Honen passed away, only a handful of disciples, including Shinda, were allowed to copy the work, and circulation was only limited. But after his death, Honen's main writing was made public. When Myoe read the work by Honen, he was extremely appalled and upset by the teacher's statement that people can be born in the Pure Land by saying the name alone, without awakening the bodhicitta. In order to criticize Honen, Myoe wrote the Daija Rin. The title means crushing the perverted view or something, crushing the perverted view, in which he harshly criticized Honen, calling him non-Buddhist because Honen denied the need of bodhicitta for human liberation. And of course, Myoe was not the only scholar who criticized Honen. Again, I should say most of the traditional Buddhists partially criticized Honen. And I could say that Myoe's writing was partially responsible for the persecution of Honen Sangha. And I already told you that a couple of disciples of Honen were executed. 8 monks, including Honen and Shindan, were exiled. And even after Honen's death, his tomb was destroyed, and wood blocks for Honen's writing were destroyed, totally destroyed. Because of this persecution, Honen's Sangha ceased to exist. Okay, so this historical background is so important to understand Shinran Shonin. Okay, and some scholars say Shinran Shonin was very close to execution, because a couple of disciples of Honen who were executed were very liberal among the Honen's followers. Okay, Shinran was one of the liberal followers. Okay, and Myoe claims that Honen goes against his own Pure Land teachers, such as Tonran, Doshak, and Zendo, and Genshin too, all of whom emphasize the importance of the bodhicitta as the indispensable cause of the attainment of Buddha. All Buddha, and actually, Shinran talks about 7 patriarchs. Honen does not talk about 7 patriarchs, but those Nagarjuna, Vasubandhu, all of the 6 patriarchs before Honen emphasize the importance of bodhicitta. Okay, and how come Honen alone denies it? Honen is saying something that goes against his own tradition or against his patriarchs. That's what Myoe is saying. And so denying bodhicitta is denying Buddhism, because without bodhicitta, you cannot become a bodhisattva. Without becoming a bodhisattva, you cannot attain Buddhahood. Okay, I mentioned this in the first kind of introduction in the first class. The bodhicitta is the basis of Buddhism, particularly Mahayana Buddhism. Okay, bodhicitta starts the whole Buddhism. Okay? Bodhicitta makes you a bodhisattva, and bodhisattva becomes a Buddha. So whole bodhisattva scheme collapses if you don't talk about the importance of bodhicitta. Myoe criticized Honen, emphasize the importance of external savior, like a Christian God coming from outside the people and coming to so the source of liberation is not within human beings, but in the outside. This is not Buddhism. See, this is Buddhism never talks about the external savior like divine savior. But if people don't talk about the importance of inner cause, bodhicitta, inner cause, it talks about external cause, then this is not Buddhism. Okay, this is a common mistake many Jodo Shinshu followers have. Okay? In this country, many people think Amida is like a Christian God, savior, out of grace, compassion, saves us from outside. That's what Myoe is criticized. Myoe is right in criticizing Honen in this point, okay? Because Buddhism always talk about the inner cause. Something noble from within us is a cause of becoming Buddha. This is the basis of Buddhism. So if Honen doesn't talk about inner cause and external cause, Honen cannot be considered Buddhist. It's a valid challenge, okay? Okay, now let me move to the Shinran's defense of Honen against his criticizers, such as Myoe. So many Buddhist scholars, Jodo Shinshu scholars, say that Myoe's criticism of Honen was one of the reasons Shinran wrote his main work, Kyogyo Shinsho. Shinran wrote his main work, Kyogyo Shinsho, because he wanted to refute Honen's criticizers' view that Honen denied the need of the bodhicitta for human liberation. Shinran talks about the 2 types of bodhicitta. Self-power bodhicitta, it's called the bodhicitta of the path of sages, and the other one is the other power bodhicitta, or it's called the Pure Land bodhicitta. Okay, first, self-power bodhicitta, Shinran claims that Honen denied the need of this bodhicitta. Okay? And the second one, okay, and so the question is, did Honen Shonin really deny the bodhicitta? To this question, Shinran's answer is yes and no. Okay, twofold. Shinran has a twofold answer. Okay. But Shinran says Honen denied the first bodhicitta, Honen denied the Safa bodhicitta, but he did not deny the other power bodhicitta. Actually, Honen emphasized the importance of the other power bodhicitta. Although Honen Shonin did not use the word the other power bodhicitta, Shinran claimed that Honen's concept of the Shinjin is precisely the synonym of the other power bodhicitta. So, in that sense, Shinran is saying, okay, Honen Shonin never denied the other power bodhicitta. Okay. Actually, Shinran would say Honen Shonin emphasized the exclusive importance of the second type of bodhicitta, and Honen used the word Shinjin, and Shinran criticizes the Honen, criticizers in saying that they criticize the Honen here. They are thinking there's only one type of bodhicitta. Okay? And actually, they believe there's only one type of authentic Buddhism, okay? their tradition, that of sages. Okay? But in Shinran's view, there are two types of bodhicitta. First, Shinran thought that Honen was right in saying that the self-power bodhicitta was not necessary for human liberation because Shinran could not realize the self-power bodhicitta in his 20 years of practice on Mount Hiei. Okay? Honen, I told you that Honen and Shinran had the almost identical experiences on Mount Hiei. Okay? They spent many years in the traditional practices. Eventually they saw themselves as a total failure. Okay? So because of that, Honen realized this self-power bodhicitta is impossible for me, and it's not necessary. If we are going to be saved by the Nembutsu practice alone, we don't have to have these sundry practices that include bodhicitta. Okay? So Shinran heartily agrees with that. Okay? Because Shinran spent 20 years in all sundry practices, and he tried to perfect this, trust this bodhicitta and perfect it. And he wanted to become a Buddha, but he failed in. So the following three verses talk about his experiences on Mount Hiei. Okay? So Shinran talks about the futility of the self-power bodhicitta that he experienced on Mount Hiei. Okay? He has these three verses. Okay? I may think that these times belong to the right Dharma age, but in me, the lowest of the foolish beings, there is no mind that is pure, true, or real. How could I awaken the self-power bodhicitta? The bodhicitta through the self-power taught in the path of sages is beyond my mind and words. A foolish being ever sinking in transmigration, how could I attain it, awaken it? Under the guidance of Buddhas who appeared in this world, 3 times the sands of the Ganges in number, I awakened the great bodhicitta, self-power bodhicitta, but my self-power bodhicitta failed, and I continued to transmigrate. Okay? So Shinran heartily agrees with Honen in saying this bodhicitta, self-power bodhicitta, is not valid. And of course, based upon the human wisdom, basically. Okay? No way you can perfect it. Okay, now let me talk about Shinran's view of the other power bodhicitta. Shinran says that Honen did not deny the need of the bodhicitta, this bodhicitta, because his concept of Shinjin refers to other power bodhicitta. This mind, the mind of great joy, is a great bodhicitta. The great bodhicitta is true and real Shinjin. True and real Shinjin is the bodhicitta. That's what Shinran claims, okay? And that the Honen always talk about the importance of Shinjin as a basis of becoming Buddha, or the basis of birth in Pure Land. This mind is a mind of ultimate equality. It is great compassion. Okay? So the next sentence, two sentences, very important. Okay? Bodhicitta or Shinjin. Okay? This mind attains Buddhahood. This mind is Buddha. See, so this Shinjin, this mind, this Shinjin becomes the Shinjin is the Buddha. Okay, this is the Buddhahood. Okay, teachers embody this Buddhahood. Amida Buddhahood is embedded here. This Buddha's mind. This is the Buddha's mind. This is the Buddhahood. Shinjin is the Buddhahood. Okay, this is a mind of Buddha given to me. It's not the human mind. The mind aspiration or motivation we generate on the basis of human thinking. Okay, this is a gift. Okay? You can, no way you can generate it by yourself. Okay, if it only by hearing alone. Okay, only the words of Buddha have power to awaken. Okay, our teachers are saying Naman Daozi. They use a myriad of words, but the core message of the myriad of words is one phrase, okay? Namo Amitabha. Come to Buddha's non-dualistic ways. Non-dualistic alone can fulfill your life, okay? Nothing else can do it. Amida is not Savior. Amida is just a literary symbol emphasizing the importance of Buddha's wisdom. With Buddha, no, saying Amida saves us is not accurate, okay? It's a fictional character. It's a fictional or symbolic expression, Amida saving us. Okay? But Amida saving us actually means Buddha's non-dualistic wisdom saves us, okay? This is very important. Shinran never talk about this personal savior. He always talk about the 6 character, 9 character, 10 character. These characters, see, words liberate. Words are the Amida Buddhahood, okay? Calling voice. Okay? We have deep-rooted prejudice that there's some kind of Buddha with some inconceivable power coming to save us. That's here, that's kind of teaching here. Okay? Shinran mythologized, got rid of all these mystic elements from Buddhism. Shinran teaching is so clear, no ambiguity, no mysticism there. This is a mysticism, okay? Amida, Savior Amida coming to us, okay? And chanting Namandal to land us in Pure Land. Okay? Of course, chanting is okay, you know, but the crucial thing is whether other people say it or you say it, hearing the meaning of it liberates us. Okay, you can say Namandal, but not for the sake of practicing. Namandal is a precious word, message. Even if you say it, it's a message coming from the Buddha. See? You must listen to the meaning of the word. Namandal liberates us. Okay, that's what this Kyoto Shinshu teaching is all about. Okay, this is the most important part. Many people don't know it. Okay, this is the core. Nembutsu is the words coming from the Buddhahood. Only the Buddhas can say Namandal. It's a command from the Buddha. Okay, it's obvious. Okay, Shinran identifies Shinjin with other powerful bodhicitta. And the Honen, then are there any Honen's words that imply that Honen talked about the other power of bodhicitta? Actually, if we study Honen's words carefully, there are some places where Honen implies that there is something called the other power of bodhicitta. Okay, the statement like this. Okay, Honen's words about the bodhicitta. Honen says, okay, different Buddhist schools define bodhicitta in different ways. In the Pure Land school, Honen's own school, the bodhicitta is defined as aspiration for birth in the Pure Land. So this implies that Honen is not denying the Pure Land bodhicitta, other power bodhicitta. Aspiration, okay, aspiration for birth in the Pure Land is a synonym of Shinjin. Okay? So that here we could say Honen is saying the bodhicitta is defined as Shinjin. See? And another word of Honen says the same thing. Although Honen denied the need of the bodhicitta in his main work, he in the same work said that the threefold mind, sincere mind, deep mind, aspiration for birth in the Pure Land, that 18th verse mentions, was indispensable for birth in the Pure Land and eventual attainment of Buddhahood. Shinran identified threefold mind with Shinjin. Traditionally, okay, these threefold mind that mentioned in the 18th vow is identified with Shinjin. According to Shinran, Honen taught that Shinjin, the other power bodhicitta, is the indispensable cause for the attainment of Buddhahood. Shinran's words about Honen's teaching of Shinjin, okay? Return to this house of transmigration of birth and death is decidedly caused by doubt. Swift entrance into the city of tranquility, the uncreated, is necessarily brought about by Shinjin. So the first two lines are talking about the cause of samsara, the cause of samsara. Swift second and third and fourth lines are talking about the cause of Buddhahood. Okay? So they're talking about the cause of samsara and the cause of becoming Buddha. Swift entrance in the city of tranquility. The tranquility, or the expression, the uncreated, both terms refer to nirvana. Okay? Chinese people translated nirvana into this Chinese character meaning tranquility, the uncreated. So the city of entering in the city of nirvana, this means becoming a Buddha. They participate in the Buddhahood. You are becoming Buddha. Okay? That's a swift entrance into the city of Buddhahood. Nirvana, same thing. Okay? Okay? Becoming Buddha is necessarily brought about by Shinjin. Okay? Return to this house of transmigration, birth and death is decidedly caused by doubt. What does this mean? Doubt. What is doubt? What is doubt? And this Shinjin and doubt are antonyms. Okay? Doubt, and Shinjin. This doubt means attachment to human wisdom. Okay? Human wisdom. Here, doubt, Shinran says, this is doubt. See, doubt. This world is a world of dualistic thinking. Okay? Trust of dualistic thinking is doubt of, see, you understand? Doubt, because of attaching dualistic thinking, okay? This plus and minus, you like only plus, you hate this, so like arising and perishing. So long as you are attached to dualistic thinking, this endless cycle, okay? Because reality doesn't allow you to have these plus values all the time, plus values because of impermanence turn into minus. Then you get so upset. Okay? And then you have another dream, another plus, and chase away. And you cannot maintain this forever. This turns into this. See? So eternally you are going cyclic. This is called birth and death. A continuous cycle of birth of classes, dreams, and continuous cycle of death of dreams. Okay? This is cyclic, inevitable. If you are attached to if you're trusting this human wisdom, you will end up in samsara. You cannot get out of that. What Shinai is talking about. This safa bodhicitta doesn't liberate you. It makes you stay in samsara. Okay, so this trust of this direction is doubt of this direction. This is Buddha's wisdom. Come to Buddha's wisdom. Okay? So doubt, the cause of samsara is doubt of Buddha's wisdom. The cause of samsara is attachment to dualistic thing. Liberation from it is receiving Buddha's non-dualistic wisdom, non-doubts, and having this shinjin. Shinjin is Buddha's wisdom. Okay? This is Buddha's non-dualistic wisdom. The voice of our teachers come to this wisdom, and we are shaken by this, and this comes out of us from the depth of our mind. Shinran says, Shinjin is the same wisdom, Buddha's wisdom. Only the Buddha's wisdom, non-dualistic wisdom, can liberate us. Okay, so this is the short verse, but the Shinran is saying, Honen taught this to me. Okay, Honen taught attachment to dualistic thinking keeps us within the samsara forever, but the swift entrance into the city of Buddhahood is necessarily is a very important word. This Shinjin necessarily, this whole Dharmakara's mind necessarily becomes Buddha, Amida Buddha. This Shinjin born in us is Dharmakara born in us. So Shinjin becomes Buddha. Okay? Shinjin becomes Buddha. Dharmakara becomes Amida Buddha. Dharmakara becomes Amida Buddha. We become Amida Buddhas when we die. When we die, our life is completed. Shinran says, we attain the same Amida Buddhahood that Dharmakara attained. Okay? That's fulfillment of our human life. Amida is a savior here. Savior, you don't become savior in Christianity, but we become Buddha. All of us must become Amida Buddhas. That's what Shinran teaches. It's such an important teaching, okay? Just worshiping and praising Amida doesn't make sense. That's Christianity, okay? Objectively worship. You must become Buddha, Amida Buddhas. That's what Shinran teaches, okay? Okay, so anyway, this is such an important sense. The return to this house of transmigration, birth and death, this birth of dreams and the death of dreams is caused by our attachment to the dualistic wisdom. And swift entrance into the Buddhahood is necessarily brought about by Shinjin. Shinjin. And please read the several verses at the end of Shoshin. Shinran praises Honen. And this verse is the core of what he says about Honen. In reading these, I think, 4 verses praising Honen, Shinran does not say anything about Nembutsu or Nembutsu practice. See? Honen is, in this tradition, Honen is always identified as a teacher of Nembutsu practice. Nembutsu practice, chanting it, saying it. Shinran does not say anything about Nembutsu in his praise of Honen in Shoshin. Instead, he said, Honen taught me this teaching as the most important teaching. And Honen taught me Shinjin is the most important thing. Shinjin alone can make us attain Buddhahood. See? This is how Shinran viewed Honen. Honen is talking about Shinjin, the other power, bodhicitta. These are not the cause, these are conditions. And these conditions, like teachers, Amida Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, their teachings, they are coming from outside. These are conditions. These are not the direct cause of liberation. Conditions. And these are conditions, and these seed cannot sprout without these conditions. Okay? So these conditions are indispensable, and that seed cannot sprout without them. Okay? But that which liberates us, realize Buddhahood is this sprouting from the seed. This sprouting, this is an inner cause. these are the Amida and the Shakyamuni are external conditions. We never say in Buddhism, Amida saves us. The person saves us. Never say that. We never say Shakyamuni saves us. A person says, no, no. That which liberates us, saves us, is something that comes from within us. That is the inner cause, karmic consciousness of true and real Shinji, that lies behind our regular ego consciousness. It is awakened when we hear the name. See, unless we receive this external condition, without conditions such as moisture, light, and air, and soil, how can we have this seed sprouting? Okay. Shinra is not saying Shakyamuni is a savior. He is not saying Amida is a savior. They are the external conditions. These are conditions that are enabling the seed to sprout. Something coming out of our mind. We are not aware of having it. It's so deep. Our regular consciousness is ego consciousness. Ego consciousness cannot identify this latent consciousness, Shinjin consciousness, Shinran called this karmic consciousness. It's so deeply hidden in us that we are not even aware we have this such consciousness or Shinjin consciousness or karmic consciousness. Buddha knows it. Only Buddha knows it. Only the Buddhas can awaken it from us. We cannot. We are not even aware of having it. How can we awaken it? Shinra said. So just respecting teachers and listening to their words alone can realize it. See? So that's what Shinra said. Shakyamuni and Amida, our father and mother, full of love and compassion for us, guiding us through the various fields. These are all skillful means to. They are all designed to awaken Shinjin. That's everything. Okay? Shinjin is awakened. That's everything. Everything important is fulfilled. No need of practice. No need of searching enlightenment. See, Shinjin itself is a powerful motivation, aspiration, and your life becomes so meaningful. Your life becomes so creative. You become nothing but a student, seeker. Not attached to any fixed values, not fixed, being attached to any fixed plus values. You are now ready to learn from everything. You become perfect seeker. Your mind becomes emptiness, nothingness. You are ready to listen to all kinds of teaching, receive all kinds of teaching. See, that's Dharmakara spirit. And that spirit alone could fulfill your life. Okay. So anyway, so these notes are very important. Okay. Shakyamuni is likened to our father, Amida to our mother, and he said, awaken. This was Hotsu ki. Two Chinese characters are used. And he said, Hotsu means, this word awaken means in the verse, okay, they bring us to awaken the spirit. Awaken, two Chinese characters. The first character, Hotsu, means to awaken what has existed from the past. So something has been here, in us, and we are not aware of having it. Being not aware of having it does not mean that it does not exist. It certainly exists, but deeply hidden. So deeply hidden that we are not aware of having. But only Buddha knows it. So they alone can challenge us, giving us message, teaching. So simply by hearing those messages, can have this latent consciousness, karmic consciousness, Shinjin, awakened. That's what he says here. And another character means to give rise to something new for the first time. Of course, this appears for the first time, but it doesn't mean it starts from now. It's been there. All humanity has something deeply hidden. This is the Hongan aspiration, okay? Hongan. But this is Buddha's aspiration, so we are not aware of having it. I'm repeating myself. Only the Buddhas can awaken it from us. Okay, that's what Shinran teaches us. Okay, so that's all I wanted to discuss today. Okay, there are so many other things I want to, because this is the most important issue in Shindan's teaching. And unless you understand these two types of bodhicitta, the teaching by Shindan Shonin, I don't think you can say that you understood the Jodo Shinshu. Jodo Shinshu is something that centers around the bodhicitta. Okay? Okay, let me finish my lecture. Okay? Namandautsu. 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 You know, 3,000-year-old seed, and the people think, oh, it's dead, 3,000. But, when conditions are good, when the good condition, then these 3,000-year-old seeds start to sprout. That's what Shinda is talking about, It's a miracle. I never thought I had this kind of, mind, I never even dreamed that I have this kind of mind, but, it's impossible. This is a miracle. See? But so he gives all credit to the conditions, the teacher's words. Because of teacher's words. Teacher's words are so powerful. They broke my shell, the thick shell of this seed, and life, vigorous life coming out of it, sprouting here. See, it's a miracle. I never thought I had this mind. See, that is the joy and surprise Shinran talks about, how joyful I am. See, and he also, same time, he says, how sad I am, how joyful I am, because I have this Shinjin awakening. But he says, how sad I am, because I've been deluded such a long time. I've been attached to human thinking, human wisdom, and have been living such a long time in this tiny cocoon. Like, we are creating our fist, this world. And we are inside this fist. So we think this world inside the fist is a huge world, huge universe. We don't know this limitless life, limitless space outside of it. The Buddha lives in this limitless space, limitless life, limitless light. So they know how miserable it is for people to be inside this. Only Buddha knows. But the humans are not aware of their problems. So Buddha is trying to see this like mother bird, baby, come out of it, come out of this eggshell, come out. But we just know, oh, this world is not so bad. I'm enjoying my life, and these goodies plus values, entertainment, sport, and wow, life's so nice. But when doctor tells you have only 1 month to live or 1 week to live, wow, then what's this? Then you desperate to seek for answer for the meaning of life or something, but too late, okay? But we have to listen to the mother bird pecking and challenging us. We live in such a, we just don't know it. No, we are in such a tiny cocoon. That's what the Shinda is telling us. And we are creating Buddhism in this. And I'm a good Buddhist. Yeah, I'm a good Buddhist. I'm chanting Namandavat. I'm meditating. I'm Zen practitioner. Yeah, I'm a good Buddhist. Good Buddhism is better than Christianity. All this deludedness, okay? The first motivation to study Buddhism is all deluded, all self-centered. Shindan teaching is a tremendous challenge. Examine your motivation. Why are you studying Buddhism? What are you seeking? See? That's what Shindan is challenging. True Buddhism cannot start unless we receive the power from our teachers. That the power of the teacher's words, that alone can break this shell and make this sprout coming out. It's wow, I never thought I had this. See? Like 3,000-year-old seed sprouting. That's Shinda was so happy, and he cannot help but share his insight with other people. That's why he wrote. And he lived such a difficult life. Okay? Throughout his life, he was always persecuted. See? Not only this incident we talked about, okay, Shindan, after Shindan was exiled, he moved to Kanto area. He was always persecuted. See? And that was the historical background. And but still, he had such a joy and gratitude, and he wanted to share his insight with other people. That's why he wrote. Tremendous joy, tremendous sense of gratitude. If you really understand his joy, depth of joy, see, we should feel we should study his teachings. Tremendous teachings, tremendous teaching.